Hello, friends. On July 21st, something happened that we've been waiting for since the first fighting Falcons arrived in Ukraine. General John Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, confirmed before the Senate Appropriations Committee that a Ukrainian Air Force F-16 achieved its first air-to-air victory against a Russian fighter jet. And not just against any fighter, but against a Sukhoi Su-35S Flanker E, which Mordor considers its best air superiority platform. I know that Russophiles are going to come out and say it's fake, but when the highest-ranking military officer in the United States publicly confirms a shootdown, we're not talking about propaganda on Telegram. We're talking about American intelligence backing up the Ukrainian report from July 8th. So I started investigating how the hell this move was set up, and believe me, the more you study it, the more perfect the trap set by the defenders looks. First, General Kane didn't just drop the information out of nowhere. He was responding to a question from Senator Richard Durbin about the impact of a possible freeze on funds to support Ukrainian air defenses. His response was that they recently achieved their first air-to-air kill when a Ukrainian F-16 shot down a Russian fighter jet. Their ability to scale up their layered air defense has advanced greatly in recent years. To understand this achievement, we have to measure the technical gap between the Ukrainian F-16s, which are Block 15 fighters with a midlife upgrade, MLU, which were donated mainly by Denmark and the Netherlands starting in 2024, and these are airframes with decades of service, and with a mechanical APG-68 radar capable of detecting a target the size of a fighter at about 100 kilometers away. Leading the way was a Su-35S Flanker E, an advanced fourth-generation multi-role fighter equipped with the N035 IRBCE passive electronically scanned array radar, which allows it to see an F-16 at 200 or even 250 kilometers away, according to the manufacturer, the. In addition, it has an advanced self-protection electronic warfare suite and an arsenal that includes R-77 missiles with true fire-and-forget capability, and the fearsome R-37M with very long range, which supposedly can hit targets at distances of up to 200 kilometers. That is, against large and not very maneuverable targets. But still, even so, in a head-on engagement, the Russian pilot can see his target first, shoot first, and from much farther away. Period. Now, how could the Ukrainians solve this problem? Well, by changing the geometry of the fight so that the technical advantage of the invaders stops being decisive, or even better, works against them. Yeah, that sounds very nice, but how do you do it? Well, first you start by building, over 2 years, battlefield situational awareness that's superior to that of the Russians. For example, they no longer dare to bring their mainstay radar aircraft closer than 200 kilometers from the front. They rely on data from onboard radars, fighter jets, and ground-based reconnaissance and surveillance radars, which they supposedly can share through a data transfer system. We already know Ukrainians have been destroying any radar Ivan brings near the front, so it's not surprising if the Russian pilot had no allied radar operating in that area. On their side, the Ukrainian information network combines Patriot batteries, electronic warfare equipment, advanced European ground radars, the Hensoldt TRML-4D, probably also with the Saab 340 early warning aircraft donated by Sweden with area radar. In addition to the considerable ISR support from NATO, with almost real-time information about the movements of Russian tactical aviation. All of this is connected by Link 16 data links. The Russian pilot may have been pushing a bit beyond what he could actually see using his advanced IRBCE radar, while Ukrainian pilots fly passively, relying on data from their network. Let's get to the fight. Ukraine confirmed the shootdown and, in fact, published a video captured by a drone from the 3rd Army Corps, Azov, showing the flanker going down in a flat spin and burning on the ground. They still haven't shared more details about the ambush's structure, so the information we're going to see comes mainly from Russian mill blogger channels, including fighter bomber, which we know is linked to Mordor's tactical aviation. For months, the Su-35 pilots maintained a routine that always worked. They would detect a Ukrainian aircraft flying near the front, apparently lining up to drop glide bombs, so they would move in to intercept using the advantage of their superior radar and the greater range of their missiles to force it to withdraw. Simple, repeatable, and quite effective. However, on July 8th, the defenders used that same pattern as bait, a low-flying F-16 replicating exactly the profile that the flanker had been sent to disrupt dozens of times. However, this time, two F-16s accompanied it as hidden hunters, armed with AIM-120 and AMRAAM C-8 missiles. Their presence was confirmed in Ukraine thanks to the remains of one of them, which fell near the city of Dnipro, with photos published by a Ukrainian civilian. Loudmouth. This is important because this version is the most advanced of the C series, and it has many features from the D generation. In addition, about 60 kilometers from the contact line, a Patriot battery was waiting in complete emission silence, equipped with PAK-2 GMT interceptor missiles specifically designed to shoot down aircraft, not ballistic missiles. In Phase 1 of the ambush, the Su-35 pilot detected the decoy and did what he has successfully done dozens of times. He rushes to intercept the unsuspecting F-16, turning on his ESA IRDCE radar, operating at full power. At that moment, he is already visible to the entire Ukrainian air defense network. The decoy F-16 pretends to retreat, luring the Russian into a planned attack zone. During Phase 2, the flanker enters the calculated coverage zone, at which point the Patriot's radar is suddenly switched on. And think about what that means inside that cockpit. The radar warning receiver of the Su-35 identifies the emission of none other than an AN-MPQ-65, the same radar from the system that has already shot down flankers, Su-34 fullbacks, and even a Tu-22 M3 bomber. It's the most terrifying alarm that pilot can hear over the battlefield. His reaction is totally expected, completely reflexive and inevitable, activating his powerful self-protection electronic warfare system while he begins to maneuver defensively. The Patriot hasn't fired anything because it doesn't need to. Its mission achieved two goals: creating a high-quality track on the Russian fighter for the entire Ukrainian air defense network, and forcing the Russian to activate his jamming system. Phase 3. The Patriot's radar track is distributed through the Link 16 system to the cockpits of the two F-16s lying in wait, telling them exactly where to aim. They turn on their radar, briefly locking onto the target, just long enough to launch at least one AMRAAM missile. The warning of this threat is just a blink on the alert system, Russian radar alert, which is prioritizing tracking the activity of the Patriot radar, which it considers a more important threat. Here's the interesting part. During its entire flight, the Ukrainian missile emits nothing. It flies by inertial guidance, receiving course corrections through its data link with the launching aircraft, which in turn receives the image that the entire network is building. For the Su-35 pilot busy dealing with the Patriot threat and burning fuel in evasive maneuvers, there's no warning that something is approaching him flying at Mach 4. Final phase? In case you didn't know, the AMRAAM has an alternative guidance mode called Home on Jam. That means if the target is emitting active electronic jamming signals, the missile's seeker can use that same signal to guide itself without turning on its radar. What has the Su-35 done since the Patriot radar locked onto it? It's been running its advanced jamming equipment at full power. With this, the Ukrainian trap closes completely, because as long as the Su-35 keeps its jamming equipment running, it's literally offering the AMRAAM a beacon to guide itself toward it without emitting anything. The problem in Pilot Z's mind is that if he turns off the jamming, he's at the mercy of the Patriot, which already has him locked on, and for him, up to that moment, is the only threat stalking him. To this, we must add that he's actively maneuvering to escape the Patriot missile, which he believes is chasing him. So he's losing a lot of energy and fuel, chasing the F-16 that's acting as a decoy and now evading the Patriot. So when the AMRAAM reached no escape range with respect to the flanker, not even the best pilot with the best plane could have escaped. And it was only at that moment that Ivan, the pilot, could get the first warning that something was really hunting him when the missile finally turned on its onboard seeker radar at close range to its target. Russian reports of the action agree that the one responsible for the shootdown was an AMRAAM launched from an F-16, with the Patriot acting both as a sensor and a hunter within the trap. The details of what happened in this battle will probably not be revealed until the end of the war, but the scenario I described to you is consistent with the doctrine and capabilities of both sides. Regarding the Patriot, it's possible that it could also have been in a position to shoot down the Sukhoi, since the Ukrainians also have Pake-2 type missiles, which are specialized in regular anti-air combat and are not used to shoot down ballistic missiles. But apparently, it wasn't necessary and it only used up energy, making it the most resource-efficient aerial ambush of the entire war. This shootdown doesn't decisively alter the balance of the air war, for now. Mordor still has a substantial numerical advantage and remains a dangerous threat, since just a week ago, another Su-35S shot down a Ukrainian MiG-29. But the shootdown changes the geometry of the threat, since this flanker wasn't defeated despite its capabilities, but was shot down because of them. So from now on, it will have to be much more careful in how it operates over the front. Now we just have to see what happens when the Gripen Echo fighters arrive with their Meteor missiles. For those who want to see additional content, we invite you to subscribe to our Patreon, where for just $1, you'll have access to uncensored war videos. Visit our store and discover items from Ukraine's distinguished units. Each purchase directly supports United 24, contributing to reconstruction, civil aid, and defense. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel.